Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching again to Yorick's TV show. I had a conversation with Kevin Kelly and I really enjoyed it and also appreciated his knowledge and life experience. Kevin Kelly is a futurist, has written bestsellers with significant predictive value regarding society and technology. He wrote the blog 1000 True Fans, which has inspired many entrepreneurs, has recorded cool podcasts with Tim Ferris, and with his life experience and wisdom, he gives incredibly powerful advice in his latest book. They all come highly recommended, and I'm very curious to see what you'll think of this podcast. Please let me know in the comments or on Instagram, and your response helps to grow the podcast a bit more. So next time, I might be able to interview your favorite guest. Enjoy the show. I'm very honored to speak to you because I have heard so many podcasts you were on, and when I wanted to invite you, I also started reading your books again. And what struck me was this podcast is built because I want to inspire people to have those childlike dreams and to keep in touch with them. And somehow when I read your content or when I listen to your content or even look at your art at Instagram, you kept in touch with those childlike dreams so much. It's all always looks so playful. And I was wondering, what do childlike dreams mean to you? Do you still have them? Are you still in touch with them?
That's a really good question. I'm not someone who's actively cultivate dreaming and being in touch with my literal dreams from when I'm sleeping, but I do try and deliberately use my childlike imagination to be playful, to not, what's the word I want? To not try to censor myself too much when I am being imaginative. And I think that the act of imagining what could be and what might be is very, very important in terms of innovation and progress. And I think what I've learned is that you have to allow a lot of things that don't work to come into being. You have to understand that most of your ideas will be not very good, that most of the things that you make are not going to be very good, meaning that they don't succeed, they don't connect, they're trivial, they're cliche, but you keep doing them anyway, partly because there's a pleasure in doing it. That's play. I mean, right? So play is not trying to accomplish anything. It's just the act itself. But there's a confidence that I've earned through experience that playfulness, if you keep it up, if you persist, will actually produce something that's useful and productive and working. So there's a confidence that the frivolous, inconsequential nature of play is actually very, very important. And so for me, making art, most of the art is not very good, but it doesn't matter, one, because I just enjoy it. But secondly, I know that the only way to do something good is to keep doing the stuff that doesn't really matter, and then you will make something that does. That's the only way to get there.
I can imagine, but I mean, you're just a little bit older than I am, but how did you stay in touch with that imagination? I mean, you also, when I read your books, you define things in such a logical way that it's so easy to get caught up in the logic.
Yeah.
How do you stay away from that too much?
Well, it's not. I think what I would say is, I don't think my powers of logic are necessarily any good or even childlike. I think maybe this is my interpretation of what you're feeling, which is that when you're thinking about things, like say talking about the future or whatever, or even the present, it's very, very hard, or the hardest thing, I should say, is letting go of what we think we know, of letting go of what we expect, of letting go the official version of things. And that's where the imagination comes in. And so imagining alternative versions of things, to imagine those alternatives means that you have to momentarily forget the expected thing. And that's really hard to do. And so, to thinking about whatever it is, to kind of momentarily suspend disbelief and believe that, something crazy could, something different. So, maybe we don't know, maybe we don't know how voters really think about things. An election could go almost any way, and you actually think about, well, what if something happened? What if there was something improbable happen? What would then happen? And so this idea of something that we all know is is true, so that, I don't know, we can say, everybody knows that, everybody knows, I'm thinking of a trivial example. Everybody knows that students don't like to do homework.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, what if we're wrong about that? What if it turns out that there was something, and that students would start to love to do homework? And so you think, well, what would that be? What would it take for something where students would just look forward to doing homework? And then you kind of go on to there, and then you kind of build on, well, if that was true, then what else would have to happen at the same time? Or if that, in order for that thing to be present, whatever other kinds of things had to be present for that. So you start to imagine this alternative to the world. Now, it may never happen. That's the playfulness, is that, okay, but you're just playing around. You're just imagining things. And so that act of thinking or suspending disbelief, it's like fiction. It's just, you're writing, you're taking a fictional stance towards the real world and just playing with it. So that's my play. My play is, I'm assuming that I'm wrong about most things. And so I'm kind of trying out all the things that I think I know. And I'm saying, well, you could be wrong about them. What would happen if you were wrong about them? And that's just the little game, that turns out to be very useful, thinking about the future, because the future that's going to happen is going to be kind of unreasonable. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, this present moment right now, if I described it to you 20 years ago, you said that'll never happen.
No, then they would probably lock you up when you have.
Yeah, right. Seems kind of crazy, right? So, so for me, it's not logic. It's playing with our assumptions.
Playing with your assumptions. I like that.
Playing with your assumptions. So it's like we assume certain things, and I keep saying, well, maybe our assumptions are wrong. And in reality, most of our assumptions are correct. What everybody knows, most of what everybody knows is true. But challenging what everybody knows all the time, that's playful. That's the play. And so It's play, meaning that most of the time the playful doesn't produce anything consequential. But sometimes it does, and the only way to get there is through that play.
Hey there, super cool that you're still listening. A small request. Could you turn on notifications on the streaming service you're currently using? And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe or comment. Many haven't done that yet, and it would really help me out. Seriously, you have no idea. Thanks for listening, and we'll continue the show. I have different feelings about what... Oh, wow. That was my microphone. That was also...
We didn't
exactly just playing with the microphone. But yeah, I have mixed feelings about what you're just saying, because at the one hand, I think it is very valuable to just play and look what the repercussions will be. But I also feel like in the creation process, it also could be valuable to have those frameworks where they do have consequences. And how do you deviate between just playing and playing between different rule sets? Or
so when you're playing, it's like an artist. You're playing, and occasionally something you make clicks, it works, and then you start to treat it seriously. Then you can develop it further. You can iterate until you have something that does stand up to logical inspection. It does stand up to more serious attention. It does stand up into the questions of whether it's valuable and anyone wants to pay for it. So there's a two-phase system for all creation, in my estimation, and that is the generative and then the editing. And to get something really great, you have to have both of those. But the important thing is you actually want to separate them. You don't want to have the editor, the critic, the curator working too early. This is like, you want to make a first draft that is unhinged, that's crappy, that is not very good. You don't want the editor to come in. You want to finish that at the beginning. You want to protect that time from the editor. And that's the playfulness. And then once you're done that playfulness, then you can bring the editor in. The editor looks at everything and says, that's all crap. That's all crap. That's no good. That's no good. Oh, this one here, there's something there. Okay, work on that one. And I'm going to go away, and you have your creative playfulness. And then I'll come back and say, well, that's a little bit of this right here. And so you have this two-phase thing, but it's very, very important. You need to have the editor. Otherwise it's just play. But the editor has to be protected from the editor in the very beginning.
Interesting. And do you have some kind of system for that? Like, I only work this amount of time on the generating, and then...
No, and people have different things, and people who are really good are able to kind of start to do that.
Well, we can assume that you are really good.
Well, no, for me, that first draft is really, really hard, making that first draft, and because it's no good. And again, for most people, most people's first draft, including many people who are expert, is going to be terrible. And so the amateur will be discouraged by that. They'll have a first draft is terrible, and they say, oh, it's no good. I can't write. The professional knows, no, that this is necessary. You have to produce a terrible first draft. That's just the process. The people at Pixar like to talk about the fact that every single Oscar-winning movie that they made started out being completely sucked. sucked. It was just sucking. And their job is to unsuck it iteratively, just make it less and less, suck more or less. And so they're trying to, and so they know that is a process. The process is in the beginning. This movie will suck. And you use that to go forward. And so everybody's process of that rhythm and, how much time they spend, it depends on the thing, the project, the people, but it's important to understand that it's an iterative process of kind of unleashed playfulness with no criticism. And then another phase where it's total, honest evaluation with no mercy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Call it killing your babies, where some of the best parts that you love, you say, no, we have to take it out, even though it's lovely and whatever it is. It's a great scene, but no. A ruthless editor with no mercy is just killing all that stuff. And so you have both of those going on around and around. And so a lot of people don't understand that one phase of the kind of unleashed, unprotected, playful thing that's producing mostly crap is an essential part of making something great.
I love how you put that when that professional thinks it is necessary to suck at first.
Right.
You obviously you wrote a lot. I loved your blog on 1000 True Fans. I mean, you already spoke on that extensively, of course. But I lost it. But this is also trying to be playful.
Yeah, sure. We're playing that. You can edit your little pause out later on. No
Exactly.
problem. Feel comfortable.
But did that process? I already got it again. When you are a professional like you are, you can separate those processes. But what I can really appreciate about true creators, like you recognize them, is that they recognize for themselves when the sucking process is done. But you have to remove so many noise before you get to that point. How did you get to know yourself, to know that true truth in yourself?
Yeah, well, you mentioned something that's really very, very difficult, is to know when you're done. And it was Steve Jobs who said basically, real artists ship. So a lot of artists and creators and inventors, the way that they're done is simply that they have a deadline. They have a gallery, they have a show coming up. They have a deadline. They've got the book is going to be published, the movie is going to come out, and most work is abandoned. That's how it's done. That's how you know you're done. You're done is because you've run out of time. Okay, and so I'm a big believer in deadlines, and I think deadlines are a huge aid in turning something from a dream into reality, because the amount of work that's necessary for whatever the project is, a sculptor, photographic book, a movie, a symphony, a song, whatever it is infinite. It can take an infinite amount of work. It can kind of forever make it. There's always ways to improve it. Everything. And so you can't manage the work. You can only manage your time put into the work. And so you say, we have 2 months to do this. We can do the best we can do in 2 months. But you're not going to say, well, we'll be finished in 2 months, in the sense that we'll finish all that needs to be done, because you're never done. They can always, and this is true of everything. And so, one consequence of that, by the way, is that it never gets easier for people, whether it's people shipping a product or people making a magazine every month or someone, artist doing a show, because you think, well, okay, they've done it so many times that they'll just kind of walk through the process. There's a little thing and they'll do it. But what actually happens is that every single time they're staying up late until the minute before it has to go. It's a surprise for me at Wire. After years and years and years of doing this every month, every single month, it was like a miracle that we got it out, shipped it, because it was like, why is that? Well, because you're constantly pushing the level of what you are trying to do, and you are using every single minute. Your time is the only thing you have, and so you're going right to the edge every time. That's actually good. That's true for people making movies. It's true for people making a show, whatever it is. Even if they've done it many, many times before, they're going to do the same thing, where it's a miracle that they get it done, because they're just increasing the quality of what they're doing. They're raising the bar each time. So it doesn't ever get any easier. That's the weirdest thing. If you're writing really good books, it doesn't get any easier. Each one is, it's a thing. You can be confident that you will be able to do it, but you're going to be, using up the last second to do it.
But when you are trying to get to a certain level, you said, don't try to be the best, be
Right.
the only one.
Right.
There has to be some kind of soul searching, or however you want to call it, right?
Yeah. Of course. You ask yourself, why am I doing this all the time? It's like, what's you're staying up late again. It's like, why am I doing it? You have to have really good answers to why you're still doing it. And, so the good things, whether it's an invention, a product, whether it's an investment product, whether it's, a service that you are excelling at, these are expressions of your own personality. The best magazines, the best shows, the best products are really expressions of the personality of the people who are guiding it. And it does require constant searching of your soul to see, what are we doing differently than other people? How are we the only? What is this worth all the trouble that it takes to do it again? And for people who they're trying to make a lot of money, that, I need to get rich. Sometimes that's not enough.
No, I agree. And were you always able to do that soul searching? And were there also times that you were lost?
No, I haven't really been lost very much. I think I talk about other things, about prototyping your life, about getting into things in an iterative way of trying things. So I kind of creep into things in an iterative prototyping way, which trying this, trying that, saying yes to things in a small, manageable way where I'm testing things. It's like the way you make something big is you do lots of little steps to do it on the way. And I found that was kept me from getting lost, was trying to make iterative versions of things and feeling my way as I went along.
I think that is some sort of lifeline in the creative process, right? You can get lost in the universe of creation.
Right. So instead of deciding you want to make a book, start with trying to make a chapter that people respond to. right? So like you say, instead of saying I'm going to make a book, how about I write some chapters and see if I can find an audience for those chapters? Because if I don't have an audience in the chapter, you're not going to have an audience for the book. And so, and then if you have an audience for the chapter, well, what about just, half of it? What about just an essay? What about like one page? Can I find people who respond to that? And then kind of grow it from there. So I think that helps you from getting lost if you can kind of iterate your way into things.
Yeah, I think that's a really good strategy. I believe, Tim Ferris is a friend of yours. I don't know if he got it from you, but like he said, before he started podcasting, I just wanted to do 8. If I do not like 8 podcasts, I'll quit. But I will stick to 8 podcasts, regardless of how it works. Yeah. If I dislike it at 7, I'll still do the 8th.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are people who like many people in the YouTube world. I think it's Mr. Beast, who a lot of people come to him for advice about doing YouTube, and he has a very simple thing. He says it's very simple: make 100 videos and then come talk to me.
Yeah, that's very valid advice.
And it's like anybody who makes 100 videos, they'll be worth talking to. I mean, he's serious. He will talk to them, and that's a fantastic filter. And there's Marcus Brownlee. Have you ever seen his 100th video?
No, I haven't.
His 100th video, he had, I think, 80 views.
Really? After 100 videos, he had 80 views?
After 100.
Oh, wow.
80 views. He was still doing it.
That gives me some hope.
Right, exactly. Right? 80 views after 100 videos.
Jeez, what was he doing all of those videos?
Yeah, he was doing his thing. He was doing reviews. He was like, and so like he was playing. He was playing around. He loved that process. It was for him. He was getting the process and he was doing it. So you iterate your way through.
Wow. But still, it fascinates me so much. Maybe we have a little bit of the same character traits, but you mix something of play, of creativity, and I find it a logical way to do that. Like pick 8 episodes, pick 100 episodes, but there's some kind of reason behind it, and also a bit of structure. And what you do with, of course, all of your books about the future, if I say it that way, but also with the advice you give on life. There's, I keep coming back at the playful and the fun. That combination is a dangerous combination in a good way.
Yeah, that's true. I like that word, dangerous. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I had a friend who wrote a book called Serious Play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Serious Play. Michael Schroy wrote a book about serious play, which is the idea of making play a more serious thing inside corporations. Mm-hmm. This is the idea that you were playful for serious reasons, and it's a nice, pun. It's a nice kind of oxymoron. Excuse me. But I like that term because it does capture some of this idea that playfulness is an essential component of very serious matters like innovation and progress. And so the question is, like you're asking, is how do you cultivate that with adults? And I think all the experiments that I've seen of people trying to do that have shown that it is possible to take adults who haven't been creative and to unleash them. And it's there's an element of being non-judgmental, of protecting again that process in the beginning, and having people understand that they can try things and without judgment, but then they will be judged and not to be taken personally at that point. And there's an art to that kind of collaborative work where you are critiquing the work, but not the person who made the work. Right? That this is a lesson of Pixar, that they figured out how to do this, is being able to make things and then having very what's the word? Harsh standards of what was really great, and communicating that, and people doing it in a way that did not criticize the person or the people who were making this. So you were kind of signing up for this process where you would try something and you would get very honest feedback that was not about you, but about the thing that they're all trying to make. And so, again, we've learned, we know some things about how to do this process collaboratively as well.
That is fascinating. I immediately, when you said that, when you told the story about Pixar, I was like, I have to do that with my friends as well. Just casually, like once a month, put some notes in the box and radical honesty.
And yes, and so you have to have people who are willing to sign up for this process, because people who are not used to it will often take a criticism of what they've made personally, and you have, and this is where it comes back down to the experience that no, some of the, the most remarkable, legendary artists are going to make some really stupid, crappy things, just like you do. And if they're professional, they will respond to the criticism not personally. And so you have to understand that this is the norm, that is can do, that it's kind of having that kind of criticism, or that producing that kind of stuff that makes that kind of criticism is not a sign of your weakness. It's a sign of the strength of this process.
Do you do that with everybody?
You can't do it with everybody. You have to have people that understand this, that understand the process. So, for those who do, yes. So there are some friends, writers and others, who you show them something, you can say, I don't think that works. They may spend, months and months or a year saying, here are the problems. And you can't do that to everybody. They show you their book and you're saying, I think you have to start over. It's like, you have to have a certain level of trust and an awareness to be able to say that to somebody.
Yeah, most definitely. I recognize that from friends as well. I think a lot of people find it hard to be so radically honest. I have friends who tell me your podcast is boring. What the hell are you doing? Yeah. Everybody has a podcast like that. And I have friends like, I really enjoyed it. I liked the conversation. It was like, and I think maybe both is true.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. You have to sort it out. And one of the bits of advice I have in this book, by the way, the name of the book is Excellent Advice for Living, Wisdom I Wish I'd Known Earlier. One of the pieces of advice I have in the book is when someone tells you that something is wrong, they're usually right. But when they tell you how to fix it, they're usually wrong. Okay. So when someone says something's not working, you really should pay attention to it. But if they're offering suggestions about how it should work, they're not going to be wrong, because that part of it is where your genius has to come in. Is you have to then solve that thing that's wrong in a way that's your own way. But we do pay a lot of attention when people say something's not working, and because usually correct about that.
I love how you separate the critique from the advice, and what I find even more interesting is that you are able to separate those two aspects of
Yeah.
what the other person is
Yeah.
saying. What makes it so different?
Yeah. Well, if you, I mean, you have to believe that things can always be improved, and there's always room for improvement. And people. That doesn't mean that every criticism of what you do is correct. We take it as a signal of some sort. They actually may not be correct about the actual diagnosis, but they're correct about something. And sometimes what they're correct about just doesn't matter, right? So, people tell me misspellings or typos. It's like, I don't really care. The spellings of things is, if the communication comes through, it's fine. So there are things that where people are correct but don't matter. And that's often a lot of what criticism is. But I think real entrepreneurs, real inventors, real artists, real scientists have to look at the criticism of what they're doing and take it as a signal, as a data point, at the very least. You can't ignore that. You can ignore, again, if they're telling you how to do it differently.
I agree with that completely, because data. I like the word data to count opinions as data, because
Sure.
it's always valuable, but you yourself know the best if it is the most
Right.
important data. So
Right.
yeah, I like that approach. Do you still struggle sometimes to know if it is the right data or not?
Yeah, all the time. You when you get criticism, again, not everybody knows how to criticize well. And the way you criticize things is you always criticize the work and not the person. There are people who like to criticize the person and see that, whatever failures of the piece are because of their moral failure or their inabilities or whatever. And so there are ways to do very constructive criticism, and there is destructive criticism. And there are times when you're working on something or have done something, and the criticism may be true until you say, well, do I still want to do this? Am I capable of making something that's really original? And so you have to kind of go back again to your inner self and say, why am I doing this? What am I doing? Am I really doing something new and unique that only I can do? And so I find that kind of conversation, for anybody who's really authentic, trying to do something truly new and novel, is a constant thing. It's always going through their head at certain parts of the project. And in certain parts of the projects, you have to turn that off and just go and finish it. Again, this is idea that there's phases where you're protecting things, and then phases when you are open to the criticism. But there are phases where you have to close yourself to that criticism. And so that's why I'm suggesting that there are just phases back and forth.
I agree. And do you believe that everybody is a creator or yeah?
Yes. I believe that everybody innately is born with some genius. And that their work could be in small talk, in sitting with somebody who's sick, and drawing the best out of them and making them at peace and at ease, like, nurturing. Their genius could be in exploring something. Maybe physically exploring, or maybe they're an athlete and they're exploring what's possible, what a human could do. So that, to me, I count in the creativity sphere. And so, yes, I think everybody is equipped or born or has the talents, and whether they see themselves as handicapped or not, it's all, yes, everybody. And I think what we're doing with technology, and I think the reason our technology exists, is to try and equip everybody with the tools and the medium that they need to express their genius.
Yeah, I think people often limit creativity to writing or making music or painting or something, but
Right.
It is so much more than just a few types of creativity.
Right, exactly.
You mentioned technology. Of course, you wrote a lot about technology. And you're also famous for being radically optimistic about technology.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even during those times right now with AI and all of those developments.
Oh, yeah.
Even more.
For sure. What?
Even more.
Even more. Yes, exactly. Yeah. What can I say about that? I think that it's the very early days, the very, very, very early days, and we don't really know what this AI stuff is. And we're kind of, again, we have all these preconceptions in our mind. And I think we have some imagination to try to have alternatives of what we think is happening. So the people who invented these tools, people who worked on large language models, have no idea what it can do and what it can't do. And the only way we're going to figure this out is the users, the people using it are going to figure out what this is good for and what it can't do, what the harms are, and that will take some time. And so I think we're kind of doing some premature criticism, and we should protect this time more for playing.
Okay, so
with
we spoke about that process before. We're still in the generating part, and we don't have to call in the editors just yet.
Right, exactly.
Interesting.
So I think there needs to be regulation and stuff, but it's too early because we don't even know what's going on, how it is, and so I think we need to protect it. And right now, many people have noted that the groups of people who are most interested or most willing to regulate are the established winners, and this is very, very common because they want the regulation because it helps defend their position. It makes it tough for people coming in, and I think it's too early to start doing that. That we want to really continue to play with it. I like to have evidence-based regulation. So right now, people have the precautionary principle where they're saying you have to prove that it won't hurt anybody. And I might say, no, when it hurts someone, we'll use that as evidence to make something. But right now, there's no data at all about people losing their jobs. There's no data of actual artists being hurt, losing their jobs. It's just, we're imagining, we have these imaginary worries, and we're regulating those. And that's a sign that we're doing it too early.
Maybe the regulation now gives a more of a false sense of security, right?
That's true too. But mostly what it does is it encases the incumbents in a protective fence, because they're going to write the regulation, and that's what they're doing. They're writing the regulations, and it will protect the big established ones.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's the danger of limiting too early. How are you yourself? I mean, you're making AI art every day. I highly recommend the listener to go to your Instagram. It is extremely entertaining to watch, and a surprise every day. What we're going to see.
Yeah. Well, that's actually what I try to do. What I did a year ago, I did my own art, my hand-drawn art every day for a year using the iPad. And what I was trying to do was actually to surprise myself every day when I was drawing. It's like I would sit down, I have no idea where I was going to go, and I would like make a couple lines. It's like, can I surprise myself? And the same thing I'm doing with AI art that I'm co-create within, and I'm happy to sign it because I can spend half hour to an hour working on an image. And so, but I'm trying to surprise myself. And so I'm playing. And that's my play, is to go somewhere where I haven't gone before and surprise myself. And I watched a documentary about Picasso. And it was a documentary of Picasso working on one painting. It was like a time lapse where he was working and reworking this painting again and again. And you're seeing him working on it, and it's like he'll work on it and then you say, "Oh, that's really, that looks cool." And then he would like alter it some more, radically alter it, where he could paint over it, and it's like, "Whoa, that's really good too." And then he kept doing it on and on, dozens and dozens of times, of kind of like almost repainting the thing. And it was like, what's he doing? He's looking for something. He's searching. And I finally realized what it was that he was searching for. He was trying to surprise himself. He was looking for something that nobody had seen before. Some weird thing so he wasn't trying to make things beautiful. He wasn't looking for something that was gorgeous or pretty or stunning or beautiful. He was trying to surprise himself. And that was amazing. And so,
do you remember the name of the documentary?
I don't. It was in black and white, and I saw it in passing, and it's sort of, actually, I need to find it, because that process has become more and more, that's become more and more iconic in my mind. That awareness of that he wasn't painting things to make them look beautiful. He would call it, like, looking for truth. He was looking for something that he had not seen before. And that is sort of part of what I try to do with the AI art that I'm doing.
Well, I think you're a good job, because I didn't even know the intention, and I was surprised every day. So
yeah,
I think you did a great job with that. We talked about creativity, the childlike imagination, even looking at the future. You apply all of those principles, however you want to call them. How could one learn from your optimism? Because I heard from you that optimism is a skill. How can we look optimistically into the future, like a child like Kevin Kelly?
Yeah, I think one of the most prominent or a chief way is to increase your horizon, to elevate your horizon, to have a longer view of both the past and the future. So I find that the more I study and read history, the more optimistic I become, because you realize how far we have come, that progress is real, that the conditions for all that are still working, and therefore it's very likely that we will continue in that direction, no matter what temporary setbacks there are. And by the way, there's something called learned optimism. They can teach kids to be optimistic. And one of the criteria that they look at is the optimistic child will understand that setbacks are temporary. The pessimistic child thinks that setbacks are due to them, that there's something about them, that they're unlucky, or that they're fated to that, or that everything happens to them. They don't have control over it. And so the optimistic child understands that these setbacks are temporary. And that's because they have a longer view. They're understanding that over time. So the longer horizon that you have, the longer view, the easier it is to be optimistic. And you can become optimistic, and you can have the faith or the trust that this will happen because of the past. So that's what we call the long now. You kind of expand your now instead of the last 5 minutes, the next 5 minutes. If you understand that, the last 100 years, the next 100 years, that gives you the space for the optimism to thrive.
Expand your horizon. I think that is a beautiful, hopeful message to wrap it up. Is there any practical advice you'd like to give to the listener that they can apply right now if they wanted to?
For optimism, or just in general?
To become a little bit of Kevin Kelly today.
Well, don't try to become a little bit of Kevin Kelly. You want to become a little bit of you. You want to become more you. You want to become the best you as possible. And that becoming the only is a very high bar. It's very, very difficult. Takes I'm still working on it. It'll take me all my life. It'll take everybody all their life to arrive there. So it's not a destination. You don't arrive at being the only. It's a direction that you are moving in. You're kind of slowly, incrementally, we're going back to this prototyping. You are incrementally crawling towards becoming more you-ish. Okay? And that process is long. And here's the paradox of that process of becoming the only, becoming you, category of one. And that is that you cannot, it takes everybody in the world to help make you unique. Oh. Becoming unique is not a solo journey. The paradox is that it's a collaborative work to make you unique. You can't do it on your own. You need friends, family, customers, clients, colleagues, coaches, guides. You need everyone around you in order for you to become the only. Okay? And so you need them as the critics to tell you where it is, or where you've departed, where it's not working, what's not really you. You need them to guide you on that journey, because you can't do it yourself. There's nobody who's become themselves by themselves.
I think that is a heartwarming message at the end of a podcast. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I really enjoyed this. I love your spirit. Thank you for giving me some time. And the book, for people who might want it, it's a little tiny book called Excellent Advice for Living. And there's 450 little aphorisms, little proverbs, little tweets. Very easy to read. That it's wisdom I wish I'd known earlier and might suit you as well.
Well, I don't know if it means something, but I definitely co-signed this book, because it's like a little family member you wanted to carry with you to give you all of those advices. And I know you don't want people to become a little bit of Kevin Kelly, but to carry a little bit of Kevin Kelly with us might help us find ourselves. So I highly recommend the book. Where can people find you the best?
Yeah. So my email and my website are very easy. It's my initials, kk.org. And everything I do kind of starts there. And by the way, I have a nice little free newsletter that we've done weekly every Sunday morning for many, many, many years. And it's my recommendations of cool, my two partners, or recommendations of cool things to do, see, follow, buy, watch, listen to. And it's just really brief. It's just a one page, 6 little things on one page, all positive, all encouraging, all recommended, co-recommendo.
Just like we know you. And I hope that a lot of people got to know you a little bit more. And hopefully there will be another positive Kevin Kelly book in the future. Stay tuned, everybody. Thank you so much again. Kevin, thank you so much again. And I hope you have a great day.
Well, thank you.